So you've recently invested into the L mount system and now you're in the market for an ultra wide lens. As I'm sure you're already aware of, the only real two options you have for the L mount for ultra wide lenses that have autofocus are the Sigma 14-24mm f2.8 and the Panasonic S Pro 16-35 f4. I've already had the chance to test out the Panasonic 16-35 and it is by far one of my favourite lenses, and I'll probably say in my top 3 all-time lenses that I've ever used for my Panasonic S5 and S1. So of course, naturally, I also wanted to try out the Sigma 14-24mm so I could better decide which one to recommend to you guys as the best ultra-wide lens on the market for your L mount camera. In today's video, I'll be discussing my experience using the Sigma 14-24mm f2.8 lens in all the applications that you probably want to use it in, and then of course weighing it up against my experience using the Panasonic S Pro 16-35 as well. So first of all, let's start off by stating the obvious differences, starting with price. The Sigma 40-24mm will set you back around £1,300 here in the UK, and the Panasonic S Pro 16-35 will set you back around £1,500, meaning that there's only really £200 in a balance between these two lenses. And personally, for me, if I'm using this lens day in and out for my work, £200 really won't make too much of a difference for me, so therefore I'll actually say that price-wise, they're pretty equal. Build quality-wise, they're both built extremely well, as you would expect. The Sigma 40-24mm weighs in at around 795 grams and is quite a lot bigger than the Panasonic 16-35, which actually weighs around 300 grams less. So therefore, the 40-24 is actually almost double the size in terms of weight and sort of girth. One of the biggest differences between these two is the fact that the Sigma 40-24 has a curved front lens element, meaning you can't just simply go and put on filters on the front of this lens like you can with other lenses that just have a flush front lens element, and we'll talk a bit more about this a little bit later. Just to wrap up on the other physical attributes of the Sigma 14-24, you also get some physical switches and buttons on the body of the lens, namely an AF/MF switch and an AFL button. This AFL button can actually be customized to whatever function you like in camera as well, so that's a really nice feature. Anyway, I don't like to dwell on this stuff too much, so therefore I'm now going to get onto the stuff that actually matters more to me, which is the overall image quality and ease of use. So let's start off with using the Sigma 14-24 for photography. Autofocus wise, in stills, it's absolutely perfect. Focus is nice and snappy with a very pleasing success rate and not many issues at all, so therefore there's not really much else to report about that. The images are clean and very sharp with a classic Sigma micro contrast that makes their lenses so nice. If I was someone that's primarily doing real estate photography and videography, then the 14-24 would definitely be the choice for me. The range from 14-24 is nice, although you're only really going from wide to ultra wide, so you don't really have as much flexibility with portrait photography like you would with the 16-35 focal range. To be completely honest with you guys as well, I don't think the jump from 14mm to 16mm is that big, so even if you are looking for the widest lens possible, I say that 16mm is plenty wide enough, at least for all the applications that I've tested these lenses in. Ultra wide and fast lenses are also extremely favourable to those who enjoy to do astrophotography, so that means of course capturing really nice starlit scenes at night. I really wanted to try this out for you guys with this lens, but unfortunately where I live is extremely light polluted, so therefore I couldn't really make it work for me. If you are someone that's really into that sort of stuff, as you know, you need to go to certain locations where there's literally zero light pollution to get the best results, and of course for me to show this lens in its best element, but unfortunately I've not had the chance or the time to do that recently. So yeah, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic. For vlogging, the 14mm focal length is very nice. As I said, however, the difference between 14mm and 60mm isn't really too much to write home about, and something that I noticed whilst using this lens for handheld vlogging and video shooting in general is that it suffers quite a lot from wobbly corners. The chances are that this is attributed to the IBIS inside the S5, but realistically the IBIS is what makes Panasonic cameras so good for handheld filming, so personally I'd rather have it switched on when vlogging. Therefore, if you are someone that wants to use this lens for a lot of handheld shooting and vlogging, then I'd say you probably have the best results turning the IBIS off in the camera, which kind of sucks to be honest. So as I was saying before, this lens does have a curved front lens element, and of course that means that you can't put filters straight on the front of this one. So when you are out shooting, let's say like today, like outside, then you can't use an ND filter to control the amount of light coming in. Therefore, you can't stick to your 180-degree shutter rule, which is a bit annoying, but there is a workaround, and there are some special adapters that essentially allow you to put the filter on the front of this lens. So that's something to bear in mind. I didn't really notice this lens struggling too much with AF either. It seems to do a pretty decent job with vlogging and general filming, with very little hunting in my testing. However, of course, I wouldn't say that it's absolutely perfect, and if the shot was absolutely critical, so let's say on a shoot, for example, I would probably switch to manual focus like I would anyway with any lens or any camera system, just to make sure that I'm in full control. Okay, so the big question is, should you get the Sigma 14-24mm f2.8 or should you opt for the Panasonic S Pro 16-35 f4? So I'm gonna make this really simple for you. If you're looking for the best possible vlogging lens, then I'd say that the 16-35 definitely wins in this race. It's got better AF, it's a lot lighter, and of course it doesn't have a curved front lens element, which means that you can just slap on your ND filters without the need of any third-party adapters or accessories. From my testing as well, the 16-35 by Panasonic also suffers a lot less from those wobbly corners, even with the IBIS switched on. If you're shooting a lot of real estate, then I'd say that the Sigma 14-24mm would be my choice, purely because it is the faster lens of the two and has that extra 2mm on the wider end. So therefore, if you do find yourself shooting in tight spaces or you need just that little bit more light in those situations, then of course that lens will be more favourable. If you're looking for the most versatile ultra-wide lens, then again, I'd say the 16-35 will be my choice, purely because that focal range is more useful to what I shoot. If you do a lot of astrophotography and like to shoot at night a lot, then again, I'd say that the 14-24 will be my choice, purely because it's faster and slightly wider, meaning you'll be able to gather in as much light as humanly possible, especially in those situations where there's not really much light around at all. Overall though, I would say that I am splitting hairs here, since both of these lenses are extremely good, very sharp and very pleasing in terms of their image quality, so therefore whichever one you invest in, I'm sure you'll love. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it somewhat useful, entertaining or interesting, and if you did, then please subscribe, because I do make a lot of content here surrounding the L mount system and the Panasonic S5 and S1, so if that's your jam, then this channel would definitely be for you. So yeah, hopefully I shall see you in the next one. Thank you.